Coming in hot for our next episode. And today, one of my beautiful previous clients asked this question. And I love that she asked it because I know it was something that she's moving through. And I spent a long time moving through back in the day when I first started out in business. And it's all about going from an employee mindset to a business mindset, to an entrepreneur mindset, to the mindset of a woman who's looking after the home, but she's also looking after herself, but she's also building something for herself as well. And so I've made a whole bunch of notes. And the first thing I'm just going to say is it's weird. It's super, super weird when you spend majority of your adult life working for someone else, and then all of a sudden, maybe you've got no start time or finish time or no regular pay sometimes, or you're in charge of everything in the beginning, which can feel super hustle-like, right? However, it's super important for you to know the core foundations of your business. So a season of work is always going to be there and it's going to be super powerful for you long term. And then maybe you are in it for a while and you get a bit of pushback, or you don't see immediate results and you think it's not working, and your brain wants to do the easy thing. And so my first question to everyone who is listening to this, because you either want to start a side business or a hustle or a full-time big organization that changes the world, whatever it is, whatever you've been called to do, my first question is, how much do you want it? And to keep asking yourself that question. Because the thing I've noticed, and I've been in the self-development spiritual industry community for over a decade now and actively coaching for over 6 years, humans say a lot of stuff. Humans say a lot of stuff. You know why? Because we get a hit from it. We actually get a chemical boost, all the yummy hormones that we love that make us feel really good. We get that boost from saying we're going to do a thing. So much so that usually we get enough of boosts for saying it that we don't even do the thing. And then we don't create the outcome. And what does that do? It stacks disappointment in ourselves and a lack of belief. And we're going to get to beliefs at the end. And one of my OG mentors, Tony Robbins, always says, what humans are capable of doing is incredible. What they usually end up doing is disappointing. Because here's the thing, we're inherently lazy. You can choose to take offense to that, or you can realize that it's just how our brains work. So maybe your soul, some higher part of you, has felt and heard and seen this call for more, this call to start something, this call to lead something, this call to create something, but your brain couldn't care less. It just wants to keep you safe. And so we've got to get serious. Like before we even start, before we even get into all the notes I've made about today, you got to get serious about changing your freaking brain, changing the way you think, feel, changing the way you act throughout the day, changing the patterns of thought, changing so much. Like you have to be willing to change almost all of you. And we still get to keep a lot of the parts that you really love, right? And so the first thing I'm going to speak about is the why and the vision. Now, you would have heard about the why through probably so many different forms if you've already been in self-development for a while now. Simon Sinek wrote an incredible book called Start With Why. He was also one of my original mentors back in the day, and we love him. And he's all about leadership and beautiful, integral, embodied leadership. And throughout all of my different layers of my business journey, whether it was wellness and network marketing and starting the coaching business, but also having the other projects all on the side, my why was always the same. And I kept building on it and stacking new things onto it. And it was super, super specific. Now, notice that I'm saying why and not how. And it was a beautiful psychic many years ago, probably about a decade ago, who said to me, she's like, you don't need to know the how. You just have to get really clear on the what. And this is not just a spiritual concept. This is science. This is how your brain works. And so much of the time, and this is the most common thing I've noticed in all my years talking to thousands and thousands of people all around the world, is that people can spend I could put you on a stage probably, and you could spend 20 minutes talking nonstop and telling us the whole detailed story about everything that went wrong in the past and why you're limited. But if I asked you to go, cool, speak for 20 minutes nonstop about where you're going, specifically, tell the story, make me feel like I'm there, people can't do it for the most part. And I've honestly not come across one person who's been able to do that unless they've already built a business and they know about this stuff. And when we're not specific about where we want to go, our brain's only going to find evidence of where we've been and what we're choosing to tell and what we're choosing to focus on and spend more time in. And so your why could be anything. The whole reason I started a business is because I hit rock bottom after my 30th birthday. I was suicidal. I was a goner almost, if it wasn't for a couple of beautiful people who I didn't even know, strangers on the internet who lifted me off the floor simply by connecting with me. It was wild. Story for another time. But my why had nothing to do with money. It had nothing to do with even impacting a lot of people. My why was that I wanted to know that there was some hope of a world that I would be able to bring children into and not imprint them with everything that I'd been imprinted with scarcity around money, constantly being broke, constantly being sick. I had so many chronic health issues at the time, being heartbroken and having horrible things happen in non-relationships or situationships, because this never used to be a thing and it became a thing in the last decade. All these horrible things that had happened in my life, I was like, I can't pass this on to a child, but I want to have children. Like when you turn 30, your hormones start switching on, you can't ignore them. And then you turn 35 and then they get really loud. But that was my why. It wasn't the how. It wasn't this is the specific modality I'm going to use. This is the type of client I'm going to have. Like I had no idea I was going to end up coaching. I actually resisted coaching for years. Again, story for another time. And I just knew that I wanted to be able to create the ability to be healthy, to be happy, to have made some money so that I could be a present, stable, happy mother and partner. And I can tell you stories that haven't happened yet. And I could take you into my vision as if you were there, whether it's me sitting at my desk in a beautiful Bali villa with the sunset hitting my face. It feels warm and I can smell the incense in the background and the kitchen wafting smells of local Indonesian cuisine cooking for dinner. My husband comes along and he puts his hand around my neck and passes me an icy cold margarita, although probably now it's a virgin margarita. Not a drinker anymore. And he holds my head back and he kisses me deeply. And he says, it's time to wrap up for the day. And then we go to the outside shower and, do some things in the shower. Or maybe it's being in a birthing pool, looking up at my partner, my mom in the background. Like these are the things I can see and I feel safe and I feel a little bit scared, but I'm shaking and I feel like it's about to happen. And he's holding my hands and he presses his head towards mine. And my mom is cooing in the background because she knows I've got this. Like these aren't things that have happened. Who knows? Maybe they'll never happen, but it doesn't matter because they're my why. I'm creating everything that I do and showing up every day the way I do because I know that the more I give those attention, the more I move towards them. And I created those visions in times where they were absolutely inconceivable. And now 6, 7 years on, it's all actually looking like it's happening. Which is pretty wild. And so much more has happened along the way that I couldn't even imagine was possible. So what's your why? What is your vision? Like, what do you really want out of this? And why do you really want it? When did you decide you wanted it? Is this actually something you want, or is it something someone else wants? Or it's something you saw on the internet that someone has and you're like, I want that. Why do you really want it? And can you get so specific for you, not for service, not for helping people. We'll get to that, but for you. What are you going to get? Because whether we like it or not, at the end of the day, humans, we're all narcissistic at the core. And that's okay. That's actually a superpower when you integrate narcissism that we all have and you turn it into a good thing. Right? Let that land. And then when you actually integrate that awareness that everyone's in it for themselves at the end of the day and no one's really caring about what you show up and do because they're focused more on their own lives. There's a great quote that's all about judgment and being afraid of what people might think. It's like you'll care less about what people think of you when you realize how little they do, because everyone is always thinking about themselves. And so just for a moment, can you admit and allow yourself to think just about yourself and create a juicy, delicious, divine, freaking epic vision and why? And maybe spend more time there than you do anything else. I love going into those visions and just being there and imagining it like it's happening right now and let the sensations change all through my body. It feels incredible. And it energizes me and it reminds me of why I'm doing what I do. The second point I wanted to make is schedule everything. Like if you are transitioning, like some of you might be starting a business on the side of a job, super powerful. I'm not, especially for women, I'm not one who preaches about burn the boats, quit your job and go all in and be terrified, especially if you have a service business, if you're showing up and helping other people and holding other people through things, please don't throw yourself into scarcity because it's just going to create problems for your clients as well and burn you out. And that sucks. And that's not a service to the world and not a ripple effect we want to make, right? So sometimes you are building on the side of a job. I did this for many years. It's super powerful to do because then you have something to pay the bills so that you can show up with a great space to do the things. And scheduling everything can be super powerful to start then, and especially for when you transition out of the other work. Because in the past, you might have had a start time and a finish time, and there was a lot more structure and things that you had to show up for. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, I don't have to work. Maybe you're bringing in a little bit of money, but if you kind of stay stagnant, then it can stop and reduce, which is not fun in business. And it's all part of it. And we'll get to money mindset in a minute. But I set a task for my clients sometimes to actually schedule everything for a whole week. And I'm talking like 5 a.m., wake up, do self-care for 1 hour, and then 6 a.m. to 6:30, have a glass of water, have my lemon water, have my breakfast and listen to a podcast. And then 6:30, like literally incremental all throughout the day, schedule everything. And then we start to play with it along the way, because you kind of force yourself into, remember, total change, something totally different than you might have been doing before. And you make yourself show up for it for a few days. It's going to feel like forcing. And that's the point, because we're interrupting a hypnosis. We're interrupting a pattern. We're interrupting a state that you've been in for ages and going, oh, stop that. And we're going to create a new neural pathway. And so starting off with super, super intense scheduling, and then each week going, cool, well, I didn't really enjoy that. That didn't fill me up, but also that didn't work with that, or that didn't work with the kids' schedule, or like, well, I want to move this around here, or my partner wants to do this. And so we're going to create some space here. Like you get to play with it. And keyword there is play. This gets to be beautiful. This gets to be fun. You're getting to design your own schedule. So can you allow yourself to enjoy that? The next point is set up the environment. Now, there's so many layers to this, and this is a whole pillar inside of the Lovely Radical Academy. And we do a lot of work on this because it's not just an initial thing, it's ongoing. So from setting up your home, if your home is going to be your workspace, having a dedicated workspace, and then being able to step away from that or out of that when you're not working. So you're not ending up working all over the house and mixing time off with work. You can do it. I mean, for me, I can kind of work anywhere at this point. However, in the beginning, this was super powerful just to create that separation. And it also depends on what kind of work you are doing as well. Creating a workspace that makes you feel good. can be awesome. It's not an essential. However, if you're living in a mess of an apartment and the stuff strewn all over the place and it just doesn't feel grown up or successful, then not helping, right? And so I've always been super OCD about my workspaces or any of my spaces. One of my darling friends who's known me throughout the years would always show up at my house if we hadn't seen each other for a year, and I'd always be living in a new place. He was like, oh, like you always just make things look so pretty everywhere you go. I'm like, yep. And so what can you do to create a workspace that excites you? So you're actually interested in getting up and getting into that workspace. And it can be anything. Like it doesn't have to be a desk and a chair. It could be whatever feels really fun for you. The next is having like a uniform or something that you get into that makes you go, oh, I'm in work mode now, especially once you've gone full time with your business, right? Because it's so easy to be like, well, I don't have to go anywhere. I just have to sit on Zoom. I could just like walk around in like my big oversized clothes and a messy bun and just like, snot over my face still from sleep. And I just be like, oh, you know what? I'll just put a filter on and show up. Or you could go, well, what does my next level self look like? What does the leader who's holding 1,000 clients look like? What does she show up as? What does she wear? And maybe even simplifying it down. And like we talk about uniform and appearance and all of that and branding inside the academy. And we do so many layers of that because it's not just great for automating a lot of your branding for your social medias and stuff like that. It makes that all a lot easier, but it also just means there's one less thing for your brain to do when you're like, oh, Monday to Friday, I get up and I work this many hours on my business because that's my schedule that I've created. And in those hours, I'm going to do my hair. I'm going to put some red lippy on. I'm going to put this colored blazer on or something that feels like you and feels like, yes, this is me in success. This is me next level. I feel good in this. I feel confident in this. I feel sexy in this. So I'm going to show up in it. And it switches my brain to go, I'm in work mode now. I'm going to go sit in my beautiful workspace in the home environment that I've created and do the thing. Then there's like adding in morning rituals and making sure you have that set up for the day time. And evening rituals are also super important. Having conversations with those in your life, whether it's your kids, your partner, your housemates, whoever's involved in your immediate environment who's going to be impacted by this change. Like preface it with them. Be like, hey guys, just so you know, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. This is the outcome that I'm looking to create. This is the money that I'm going to bring in. This is how I'm going to feel. So that's going to be good for all of us. It might mean that I can't cook dinner every single night for the next few months. It might mean that we're not going to be able to do this or that. It might mean that maybe I'm not as available, or maybe I'm going to be a bit distracted, and I'm letting you know so that you know there's going to be change, so that you're not going to be in the background going, what are you even doing? Like, stop doing that. Come and cook dinner. Stop working so hard. You don't have to work so hard. You don't need to do this, because any of that, I mean, you get to get the mind gateway soon, but any of that is just opportunities for your brain to go, oh yeah, easy way out, easy way out. Yes, we want that. Where your soul is like, no, I want to make this work. I want to make this happen. I want to create this amazing life. So you're going to feel in the beginning like you're in this battle. And what we're doing here is we're creating a lot more around you and within you so that you can overcome those little temptations to quit a lot easier. And creating a strategy with the family or those people in your environment. Like, make it a team effort. Like, how good is it going to be for them as well if you're suddenly healthier and happier and wealthier, right? It's a win-win for everyone. So make the strategy together and see how we can make it work and create that space for you to show up. The next is a super important one in any stage of the journey, and it changes, but it's always there. And we call it drivers. So humans are either being driven by pain or by pleasure. So we're either working to get away from something or we're working to get towards something. But here's the thing. Most people in this world are in away from drivers. We're just trying to get away from pain. And this is another common thing I hear when people are telling me their stories, or I'm asking, hey, like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What's the big vision? What are you excited about? And I'm like, I just don't want to be sad anymore. I just don't want to be broke anymore. I just want to get away from feeling like this or having a life like this. It's even woven into the language rather than I'm so excited to be moving towards this amount of money. I'm so excited that I'm going to be meeting my soulmate this year. I'm so excited to get fit and healthy so I look good when I look in the mirror, right? You start to notice the difference in your own language and the stories that you tell. And in the beginning, and sometimes a lot of the times throughout it, you're going to be in away from drivers because they're a lot more powerful for a society that is addicted to pain. And we're all addicted to pain, drama, suffering in some way, shape, or form, not just because of all the things we've come from and been imprinted with, but from just how society is. We're programmed with it constantly. It's the easy thing for our brain to do, to drop into complaining and blaming and all the things. It's the easy program. So your brain's chosen it a lot of times. And so that's available all the time. However, usually the people who have decided to start a business and go all in and do something like this created a fair bit of pain in their life that they just want to get the fuck away from. So fucking use it. I'm going to use the word fuck a few times right now because I'm super passionate about this. Your pains, your shames, your hurts, your greatest traumas are the key. They are the key. They are everything that you get to utilize to transform into motivation, into empowerment. They are the key. And this is the big part of the work that I do when I work with people one-to-one, is actually alchemizing anything that happened in the past that's hurtful or that they're stuck in and turning it into gold. It's the key. And the more you do that, the less you actually have things that you have to run away from. And you can really start accessing those pleasure drivers. You can really start seeing, holy crap, I'm actually going to be capable of this. That's starting to feel a lot more exciting than the easy program my brain's been trying to take, which is just bringing me back into the pain loop. But there's this breaking point when we've been in a pain loop for really long. We're just the neural pathway in our brain is just going like this. And for those listening on the podcast and not seeing me right now, I'm just doing like a big circle round and round and round. And when we're starting to create changes like this in both our mindset, our story, and our behaviors that are linked to that, we get to the edge of the circle. We get to the very edge. And we start to see, oh my God, like I just did that. I just created that. I just got that offer. I just got that money. I just got that client. I just created this outcome with someone. I just met this person. And we start to see it. And oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But if we're not giving time and energy intentionally to where we're going beyond that, the exciting moments of realizing that we can do it, we're just going to get pulled back into the pain loop and something's going to happen. You're going to get a flat tire. Your partner's going to want to leave you. They're going to announce they're divorcing you, or you're going to lose all your money or lose your job, or something's going to happen. It always does. If you're not going, where am I going from here? Where specifically? What specifically? What does it feel like? Can I give my attention to that more often? Right? So we actually have to be super intentional about reprogramming our brain so that we get to the edge of the pain loop and we bust on through and never go back. Except when we create what I call champagne problems, which are just kind of creating problems to keep life interesting, because we're humans. We're going to create problems because we're problem solvers and we can solve pretty much every problem in the whole world. And the more we solve problems, the more we realize what we're capable of, and then the more we do. So amazing. The next point I wanted to make is you will never feel like it. Okay, sometimes you'll start feeling like it, but in the beginning, you won't feel like it. Do it anyway. Show up like you're going to get fired if you don't, because let's face it, like start to actually use those away from drivers. What if you have to go back to work? What if you have to start from the bottom again? And with the, oh, you tried that thing and it didn't work, huh? Like use that as your drivers. Use the people, like there's a great quote from Lady Gaga that I heard many years ago. She was saying a speech in an awards show, and she was like, I want to thank all the people who believed in me, and I want to thank all the people who didn't believe in me. because you lit a fire under me. And I was so excited to prove you wrong. And it kept me going. So it's great to use the away froms in the beginning. You don't want to be constantly coming back and using like revenge drivers or anything like that, of course, but use them in the beginning. This is what I say. The pain and the things that went wrong are your power. They're so energetically charged, and that's why we use them. And letting yourself down just stacks limiting beliefs. So show up and do the thing. Like, start showing up like you're getting paid $500 an hour, and you'll get paid a hell of a lot more, right? The next point is make sure you're doing something that you actually enjoy, that makes sense for you. Like, there are thousands of ways to make extra money that don't involve taking your clothes off or doing anything illegal. I can promise you that. They're not going to be exciting for you for the most part, but there's product-based businesses and Amazon and all these different things, right? But for women, especially, we're creators, we're nurturers, we're connective beings. We thrive on community and coming together and making an impact and helping and seeing that outcome, right? And so if we're just like selling something on Amazon, it's gonna start to feel a bit, especially if it doesn't work for ages, right? So most of you in this community and listening to this podcast and in my world or in my coaching arena, most of you have started a service business of some kind. Most of you are on a mission. Most of you are wanting to do something that not only is changing your life, but it's going to change other people's lives, because you've walked yourself from pain to purpose. You have embodied healing. You have stepped into a totally different frequency, and you wanted to show other people how it's possible, because it's so much more fun when other people come there with us, right? You're here for those reasons. You know that you're here for something more and that you can help in so many ways. And so you're most likely already in the arena of doing something that you're going to love. Start to identify the parts of it you do really love and allow yourself to enjoy every freaking second of those, because there's going to be a lot of parts of building a business, building these foundations, both in your life and in yourself, to hold the thing that makes you $500 an hour or more. There's going to be things you don't want to do a lot of the time, right? Pick your hard and start thinking of the long term, the bigger picture, and keep that in mind always, because there are quantum leaps in business. Absolutely. You can have massive success really quickly, but it's usually following a fair amount of time, laying the foundations, showing up and doing the thing, challenging all the different parts of yourself that are just your brain trying to keep you lazy, moving away from the pains, but also utilizing them and transforming them, forgiving them, even, dare I say it, finding gratitude in the shitty things that happened in the past, because they're actually the reason why you're going to make so much money, and you're going to help so many people, and you're going to be healthy and in a happy relationship with beautiful children if you want it, right? So pick your hard, because either way, life's going to be a challenge. Would you rather be someone who's challenged with nothing, constantly struggling, challenged in your relationship, stressing out with your kids, having to go to work still when you're 60? Or would you rather a hard life with all of those problems being solved? Keep coming back to that. The next is, and it's so expansive, so we're only going to touch on it, but limiting beliefs. And this is the core of the work that I do with women who come and work with me, is that we actually go and reprogram everything. We deprogram everything that's not yours, that's maybe come from society or parents. Love them. They did the best they could with the resources they had. And we're now getting the space and the time to actually program manually our brains so that we create everything that maybe we didn't get to have, or maybe that held us back, or maybe even hurt us. And so when it comes to business, when it comes to creating this new stability in yourself as this leader, as this entrepreneur who's no longer stuck in this 9 to 5 for someone else, you're going to want to challenge and change all your beliefs around money and sales. You want to fall in love with making money, with talking about money, with big money moving in and out of your accounts, with investing it and not knowing how it's going to work, but trusting it, with supporting yourself, with getting in great environments. And then you want to fall in love with selling what you have, with talking about what you have, with telling stories about all the things that you've walked yourself through. Fall in love with it. The next is comparison. Comparison creates and solidifies a lot of our limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. It brings in things like, well, maybe I don't know enough, or maybe I'm not smart enough, or maybe all that education I did and paid all this money for, whether you did a degree or whether you did heaps of time in self-development and did different courses, we can start to doubt that because maybe we're comparing to God knows who. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is you yesterday, and striving to be a better version of you tomorrow. And yes, we can use other people as reference points. And I talk about this all the time. If you're going to compare, make sure you're comparing and realizing that who you're comparing to is you. And so if you think that they're doing better than you, it's possible for you. So finding out what do they do to get to where they're at, and what's the gap between where I'm at now and where they are. Can I even ask them? Can I get closer to them? Can I be in their environment? Because at the end of the day, we're going to become more and more like the people we're in close proximity with. We'll get to that soon. Really being mindful of the environments that we're in and the setbacks that can happen from just one word that's said, or one little look, or one little comment on the internet. There's so many moments that you might allow to take you out. And when you're aware of it, you can start to laugh at it and be like, oh, cool. I've created some challenge and some contrast and an opportunity to give up. And am I going to do it? No. Working on forgiveness of anything painful in the past or the present equals emotional freedom, which releases resistance to things coming to you. And this is one of the biggest things when it comes to limiting beliefs, is that we hold on to resentment or anger or pain or hurt or guilt or grief or shame. And when we hold on to these things that happened and say, oh, like I'm a better person now, I've healed from all the things, but I still can't stand my ex and that was horrible what they did. The only thing you're doing when you do that is building more of a brick wall between where you're at and where you want to be. And so when we do, and it can be quite simple, like people go on these decade-long healing journeys and do all the plant medicine and all that stuff to try and like forgive their past, but really it can be done in minutes. That's what I love to do with people, is we dive deep, we clear it all up and we transform it and go, cool, this is the energy we're going to use to shoot forward to everything that we're actually creating. And a big part of this that can really help building limiting beliefs, and look, sometimes we can't just get straight to the click of the new belief, right? We have to stack proof of some kind. And a great way to do this in the very beginning is have a really great protocol for your physical wellness. Feed your mind, feed your body, detox anything that you don't want to become, right? Get all the toxins out. Stop killing yourself with things like alcohol or anything else that is actually poisoning you, which is just sending a subliminal message to your mind that I hate myself. I actually don't like myself. What if you were to completely clean up that whole space? Not saying you never have to have those things again, right? But can you have a moment every single day where you move your body, you move your mind into a totally new direction? You support yourself drinking lots of great water and liquids and healing tonics and supplementation, all these things, and really just supercharge your physical body. Because when you do this, you start to realize, whoa, look what I'm capable of. You know, everyone's had a little health kick at one point and been like, wow, I did that. And then we usually got to the edge of the pain loop and sabotaged it, right? And then we went back and had to start all over again. And then it was like, why do I bother? But what if this time you made it simple and sustainable so you could just keep doing it? And then you go, oh, I feel more energy today. What more could I do? Oh, I cleared up my skin. Oh, I lost that little bit of weight that I wanted to lose. Oh, I'm having more clarity of mind. Oh, I just got a really great idea. Oh, I just met this person. I actually have energy to hang out with them and converse with them. And oh my God, now we ended up building a business or getting married or whatever it is. Start with the body if you feel like there's too much chaos in the mind, because you'll change the mind by changing the body. And be a general, like a general at the gates to your mind. Get off any of the news, clean up all of your social feeds, anything, like anything clickbaity, anything that's got any complaining in it, anything that draws you in that's got nothing to do with where you're going, your why, and your vision. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Because anything that's actually absorbed by you through like visual, words, text on a screen, word, like conversations that you're in, podcasts you listen to, music you listen to, all of this is hypnosis. It's all being imprinted and being boxed away into its different belief systems that you already have, going, oh, look, that proves that right. That proves that right. That proves that right. We need a reset, because a lot of your belief systems are not going to get you to where you want to be. And it's a lot easier to reset when we clean out a lot of the things that are coming into our mind. Because as humans, in this day and age, we absorb more information in one day. I think it's actually less than one day now, but in one day than a human 100 years ago took in an entire lifetime. So no wonder people are using words like overwhelm, right? Because there's so much crap coming into your mind that's got nothing to do with where you're going. So clear it out, create the space, and hone in on where you're going, and only allow things through the gates of your mind that match up with that. The next is to give more than you expect to receive. Business is service. Like if you're just in business to make money, maybe you will, but then you won't actually end up a happy rich person. If you want to end up a happy, healthy, kind, integrated, embodied rich person, give more than you expect to receive. The purpose of living is giving. It's how we generate energy. It's also just a super powerful thing to do. What can you give today without expecting to receive a sale for it or praise for it? There's so many things you can give that take you a moment of time. So how can you show up and give something every single day and clear up any expectations that you might have of what you should get back from it? And pairing service with taking care of oneself. This is like the infinity symbol, right? This is women in business. Service and self-care. Service and self-care. It's a never-ending, constantly beautiful journey that you can come into balance with. So take care of yourself, build yourself, and ask, how can I serve? What do they need that I have the ability to provide? Each one teach one. And then to round it all out, always be in communities or masterminds or coaching groups or working with a set of people who are either more successful than you, have walked themselves through what you want to walk yourself through, and who challenge you, maybe even collaborate together, because it's going to keep you close to the fire. Because maybe you can't detox out your whole life. Maybe there's still going to be your partner who's doubting until they start seeing the money coming in. Or maybe there's your uncle or your parents or your sisters or whatever who are, oh, like, why are you still doing it? Look how it's not working. But when you're staying close to the fire of people who are like, it works, look, it worked for me, it's going to work for you. You just got to keep going. Maybe you got to tweak this. Maybe you got to do this. This is what I did. Success leaves clues, and you will be the average of the, 5 people that you're in close proximity to. So I know for myself, I am always in at least one, usually it's 2 or more, coaching communities, masterminds, groups, working with a one-on-one coach, having people in my arena who are doing more than me, whether it's financially, emotionally, in their personal lives. And sometimes it's actually quite triggering. I'm like, are they really, like, that makes me uncomfortable, which is perfect. Because if it triggers, it's going to teach us. And if it's bringing out that comparison, like, why are they successful and I'm not, or whatever it is, it's perfect. Because remember, they are you. And so get in more environments of people who are doing, being, and creating something like you want to create. Because it rubs off and it can happen fast. And so, in a nutshell, those are some things that I would say when you are transitioning from working in an employee mindset environment to working for yourself. And I know for me, like, I'm a generator in human design. And so I'm a worker bee. I'm a crazy worker, which can get taken advantage of when you work for other people, which I found out a while ago. I was like, it makes so much sense why I worked so hard for so many years for minimum wage for big companies and did all the extra things for them and basically managed stores without getting the promotions. And so learning my human design was super powerful, and how that can relate to business and how we can use it in business. I always say to my clients, don't get boxed into a label like that. But that was super powerful. And we do a bit of human design work inside the academy as well, as we're starting to build out the leader who builds the business. And it's all about the energy at the end of the day. When you put all these things together that I've covered today, I would think and hope that it excites the fuck out of you. That you start to go, oh my goodness, I have one life. I know I've already maybe created little magic moments where I've walked myself through a hard thing to a better thing. What more could I create? Go big, babe. Like, with those visions, with that why, go big and do it for you so that it feels freaking incredible in your mind. Because, as we know, if you can see it in your mind, if you can feel it, allow yourself to go there, it's actually because it's on a timeline for you. You're just closing the gap and catching up. And on January 3rd, for those of you who want to get in that energy, I am super excited. We're hosting a free live party masterclass gathering of powerful women on my Zoom. And we're going to be spending a couple of hours going into the strategy that I'm applying to my own business and all the different layers of that to create a beautiful business that serves the world and makes millions if you wish, or whatever it is that you're going after. It can be low maintenance, it can be chill as fuck, and it creates massive positive ripples. We're calling it the Chill Millionaire, or the Chill Millie, as I'm calling it. And we're hosting that as a free class so that you can be in the energy, so that you can bring it to the table, so you can be in the chat and flirt with people and meet new awesome girlfriends who are in the same energy frequency as you are, putting their stake in the ground, going after something bigger for themselves and their families and their kids and their timeline, both past and present and future. And it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be a paid course afterwards. So you want to be on live. The replay will only be available for a couple of days, and you can register for that in my website or any of my links everywhere. It's going to be so much fun. Or if you know that it's time to have your whole life transform in a year, because it doesn't have to take the decade that it took me. That's why I created LRA, because it's collapsing decades of knowledge in all different areas of life into days so that you can actually have a full life transformation in the space of a year. Then the Lovely Radical Academy applications are open, so you can slide your sexy self into my DMs for a chat. And until then, I will see you all in the new year.